Welcome back to the Religion of Human Nature podcast, where we talk about all sorts of ideas and topics that I think people want to hear from different perspectives. And I have two awesome guests today. The first is Julie Caitlin Brown, who is the CEO of Illumina Productions, who I met just a couple months ago virtually. Julie, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Doing good. Overall, it's been a great week as far as COVID goes. I think it's been my favorite COVID week. And my second guest today is the Chief Experience Officer at Five Below. Also, and I'm going to note this, and she knows I'm going to note this, but one of my favorite people in the whole world and a big mentor to me, Judy Werthauser. Judy, how are you?
Good. Hi.
Hi. and we had a brief appearance earlier when we were just getting on from Judy's dog and her daughter, Devin, who are
all in the family. All in the family. You know that.
Yes,
I'm part of it now.
Yeah. So Julie, the first question is to you. So you transitioned from an actress to managing talent. What do you see as the biggest difference in how you might approach some of the talent you work with having that experience?
Well, actors are very narcissistic. They just are. If we weren't, we wouldn't want to be in front of the camera. We wouldn't want to be on stage. So I came from musical theater, and I had my own cabaret show. I was on Broadway for Tommy Tune for 2 years as a lead in Grand Hotel. And I got on a show when I came out to LA called Babylon 5. And I'd been on Star Trek and Deep Space Nine. And I was introduced to the world of conventions, which are the sci-fi conventions. So everyone understands Bill Shatner with the Get a Life and Star Trek. So I looked around because when I was a young musician, I became a booking agent for nightclubs. I booked rock bands and high-level comics like Dana Carvey and Barry Sobel and Paula Poundstone and Bobby Goldthwait, the Bobcat. So I had a really interesting business viewpoint of actors and talent and musicians that then as I went to these events, I said, oh my God, no one's running the nut house. This is insane. Here's a bag of money. Thanks for playing. It's like, what? And there were no contracts. They were maybe deal memos. This is when you would put photos. You must remember this, Judy. You're putting pictures in the envelope to submit, with their bio. And I thought, my God, this is a gold mine. What a great ancillary revenue stream. But more than that, what a way to thank your fans for watching your performances, and also to see if you can develop a relationship with them. This is pre-social media. I've been doing this 25 years. So as we kept transitioning as a talent, I understood what I was asking them to do. I said, this is like being at your own cocktail party for 8 hours a day. Hi, how are you? Oh, you're great. Oh, it's nice to meet you. Yes, of course, I love that, blah, 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 blah. And you're repeating dialogue back to them and they want to take a selfie. It's hard work because you must be focused. And if you're going to do this, you better bring it. You need to bring your heart. You need to bring your soul. You need to bring your ears. Because what these people want is to be seen and heard and acknowledged.
When we booked Lee Ehrenberg through you, he was just so great, and exactly how you said it. And I mean that we got so many compliments that when he was speaking to the screen, so many people felt he was speaking directly at them, and he was just so kind and wonderful that way.
So that's what you bring when you've done the job.
Right.
You can look them in the eye and go, don't complain to me. I've done exactly what I've signed tens of thousands of autographs. Calm down. You're getting paid to do a job that you got paid to do already. Just enjoy it and be grateful and give thanks.
So Judy, you've had to hire talent for many large companies. Are there skill sets that you specifically look for when you are looking for, let's say, maybe not necessarily for all levels? Are there specific skill sets that you look for that are more attractive than, let's say, just book smarts?
Yeah, so every job, the way I look at it, I divide kind of the brain in a sense or the job into two areas. One, I'll call it technical skills, and the other I'll call it kind of the personal skills, right? Kind of who they are. So the technical skills, you always got to check off, like, are they a good accountant? Are they good technologist? Are they good HR person? Are they a good buyer, right? And so there's a certain set of skills that go along with the job. And then there's kind of who they are as a person. And that to me is always the same. And I always go at character. I always drive a set of questions around character and understand kind of who they are, what formed them, how they think about things, because I've been fortunate in that the companies that I've been a part of, character and the relationship and how you treat people is a guiding value. So finding, making sure that we sort through people who are going to complement that culture and align to those values is what I would define as my primary role. And then I partner with technical experts to assess the right technical skill sets.
So both of you work with people who have potential, and you try to make them stars, whether it's a star at a convention or a star in whatever their department is. What's some of the biggest way you move someone from just having potential to being sort of reaching that full potential, or at least, or exceeding it? Are there, and this is open to either of you.
You want to go start, Judy?
I can jump in. I mean, when I think about potential, a couple of things come to mind. A lot of times people don't understand their own potential. Okay. So that's part of actually the most fun part, is actually helping people find their potential. I actually think I may have said that to you at one point, Rabbi. And and then help them in the self-discovery of that potential. And I actually think it always starts with passion. And in making sure that people understand their passion, that they kind of own their passion, and they understand what impact they want to have on the world, not just in the job, but in the world, and how to bring, and then how do we create, for the time that I have them in the work environment, how do we create a mix of opportunities, projects, and day-to-day things that allow them to practice these things and to test out and to kind of keep right. And then you kind of what I do is I like to set the next goal. And it's like, okay, now we're going to give you this. Now we're going to give you this. And they're like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And all of a sudden they accomplish it and they're like, oh my God, I did it. I can't believe I did it. Right. And so it's, and then some people, we can talk about this, some people tap out because they really can't do it, but you just keep setting the steps to see where they go. But that's generally how I think about it.
Yeah, it's funny, tapping out or burning out, right, can also happen when you put too much. Recently, someone who was leaving their job, and someone came to me and said, why do you think they're leaving? They've been, they're doing such a great job. And I said, I think that person is just burnt out from this job, right? Done all the right things and, in the right job, and the company's doing well, but they just burnt out because either the company wasn't all living up to its potential, so this person had to maximize things in areas. So yeah, there's definitely truth to all that. Julie, you want to?
I do want to say something, because I think that the hardest thing for an actor to understand is the gift that they're giving is uniquely themselves. God only made one of me, and thank God. Okay. So I wrote a book called Love First and the Artist, and we talk about the audition technique, and we talk about, if you've done your homework, when you get to celebrity, they're all talented, they're all good looking. And I love what you said, Judy, because the thing I look for is, are they a good human being? I don't care how many awards you won. I don't care what show you've been on. If you're not kind, then I can't work with you, because you reflect me as well. When we go out into the public, if you're boorish, if you're difficult, if you're too demanding, then, and there's certain demands that happen in this level of celebrity. The demands on people, like you said, the burnout, they burn out. People go, oh, they're getting all this money and all this attention. But if they're not balanced spiritually, if they're not really taking care of themselves as a human being, then that's an empty well and there's nothing left to give. So what I look for in potential, I always look for talent and content. I want to know, do you have content of character, just like Judy said? And if you have those two things, you might have an area where you have a little blind spot or you're insecure. I have one actor, I won't say their name, but she knew that I was a singer and I starred on Broadway. And her voice is good, but she's a dancer. And I said to her, you're famous, so they're going to let you go for it in this part on Broadway. So here's what I want you to do. You're going to go to a convention and you're going to sing in front of these fans. And then you're going to decide if you can do this. So I had her go, rehearse a song with the band. and get up and perform. And she came alive. It was just the most glorious thing to watch her step into this part of herself. And her voice isn't like the best voice, but she sold it. You know, she really just sold that song. And I went, oh, you're going to crush it. So she's going on Broadway. That to me is just the best. Isn't it, Judy, when you see somebody?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And you know what's so interesting listening to Julie is like, Rabbit, it's the same story, right? It's like, I don't know. I mean, I could pick out a good actor from my lens, but I'm not the best person to go pick out a great actor for a role. But the content of character, right? It's the technical skill and the character skill, which is interesting. I wasn't sure, like, until I'm learning that now from you too. So it's pretty interesting. But regardless, I think it's universal.
It should be universal because there's a lot of people. I'm doing a documentary on brain health called Noise. And it's all about TBI. It's also about organic environmental issues with the brain, the physiological part of the brain, the psychological part of the brain. And what we're finding, especially with COVID, not to divert from what you're talking about, Rabbi, but it goes to this. If you don't have a strong sense of self, if you haven't worked on yourself, if you haven't availed yourself of a good mentor like your rabbi, or, you know, someone that can give you grounding, this is who I am. When disaster strikes, you go everywhere. You lose yourself. You know? And so with my actors, fame is like that. When they get fame too young, they spin out. So I have to go, no, we're coming back to this. No, we're coming back to that. And the beautiful thing is when they sit and a family of 5 walks up and says, we just sit around and we watch you guys together. You brought our family together and, you know, we're so inspired by your work. That's being an artist.
Yeah, I love it. So there must be times also when people don't live up to their potential. And what's that threshold? What's that threshold for you each? Is there a quality? You know, Judy and Julie, you both spoke to this character or skill set. Is there a threshold for you that you say, listen, you still have a lot of potential. Maybe it's an age in which you say, but this is not the right spot for you, or you're in the wrong industry, or maybe what we saw as potential is just, I mean, as someone who's a sports lover, you know, we see that you see all the time. You know, guys who were drafted in the first round of baseball and pitched 3 games in the major leagues. They had all the potential in the world, but they could not figure it out once they got to. So does that happen? And what's that threshold for both of you?
You know, I mean, it happens, but I'm probably going to switch up the words a little bit. So the potential, so I'm a huge believer in potential and work all day long to build potential, whether it's in the business or in people. And, but people, like, it's not just always up. Like, it's okay for people to be where they're supposed to be at their best. And being at their best doesn't necessarily mean that they've tapped out of potential. It means that they may not be a CEO, but it doesn't mean that they don't add value, incredible value. And I think they're managing the expectation of how I show up every day to create value. And to Julie's point, like, how does this fit in my life, of how I want to contribute in my life, is kind of how I've matured my own understanding of how to help people grow and learn their potential and learn how to contribute. And it's always pressure early on, right? About growing, promotion. So in those scenarios, there's times when, you know, I've had to help people understand what is required of them in the next role. And then actually it's a self-reflection to Julie, like, is that something you actually, it goes back to passion. Do you actually like that? Do you want to spend your time doing that? Because if you don't, the chances of your energy and effort and being happy are low, which means that your chances of success are low. So let's find where that kind of always, then I go right back. Okay, what are you passionate about? How do you want to have an impact? How do you want to spend your time? Again, it may not be the highest level on the, you know, in the world, but it's about being great and passionate and delivering what you want to deliver. That's kind of how I reframe that.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that people misunderstand about how you become famous, because, like, if I'm repping you, you're already on a show. you are at a level of notoriety where somebody wants to buy your autograph or take
Right.
a picture with you for money. I have a lot of young actors come to me all the time. They go, how do I become a star? I said, well, you do what I did. You do free theater, you go to school, or you do free theater and you hire coaches. Cause I didn't graduate college. So I had a lot of potential, but there was no money in my family. There was no direction. I didn't have a Judy. I didn't have a Judy that went, you could do this and show me the roadmap. I didn't have that. So I had to cobble it together in a small town and kind of figure it out. But when I did get to those people, I had the passion, I had the talent, and then I had to work on my mental fortitude. Every no is getting me closer to a yes. Learn to love the no. Learn to love the experience, the process of auditioning. This is my gift today. I have given it to you. I've left it all on the floor. I love you, not because you're going to do anything for me, but because we're all in this together and none of us are getting out of here alive. Okay? So lighten up, laugh at it a little bit. And if that's what I look for in the quality of a person, are you flexible? Can you bob and weave a little bit? And maybe this isn't your forte, like Judy was saying. Maybe it's something else. And a good manager sits with that client or that employee and says, let's talk about this for a second. You know, I noticed that you've got great people skills over here, but you really struggle when it's sitting down to a spreadsheet and really hitting the numbers. Maybe we need to move you into a different role. You know, when I hire my assistants, and let's talk about firing for a second. I've had to fire a lot of people. That's hard. You know, to actually look somebody in the eye and go, this isn't for you. You're too much of a fan. You know, they're running on circles around you. You can't brown nose my clients. You must be in charge. They need to rely on you. You're dealing with their money. You're dealing with their public. You're dealing with their brand. And if you're, you know, and sitting in the, like, what can I do for you? The 5 other actors you're supposed to be looking after are pissed off because you're kissing her butt. You know, you give them, Judy, you do this, right? We're going to try this one more time. Okay, we're going to give you one more chance. Chance 3, it's got to go. Because the good of the company demands it.
That's right.
You know, and that's a very hard thing as a manager, to not see the potential, but to see where they just can't do it.
Yeah. There are times I think sometimes the best thing you can hear is no, and then to go find out in a really honest and humble way why that no, and because otherwise you'll never, both in relationships, personal relationships, but also in your workplace. I remember the best phone call is one time when I was interviewing a job before Temple of Aaron, Judy, and I didn't get the call, and I remember saying, okay, I have 2 choices. I can just be upset that I didn't get this yes, or I can go find out why they said no. And actually, the no was actually a compliment. You know, it turned out to be that it was a good thing, and I'm glad I did, because otherwise it would have stewed in me for so long, and I wouldn't have learned. Okay, not every place is looking for X. They might be you might have X, and they want Y. It's just a choice, right? You have to be self-reflective. What techniques do you use to ensure success for those around you? You know, I know, Judy, you and I have done a lot of work talking about goal setting and engagement setting and things like that, but are there other ways that you use to ensure success for the employees around you?
Well, you know, I mean, I do a lot of routines, right? So one is I'm direct, and I don't mean direct like direct. I mean, like, let's talk about this, because we're in this together. To that point, it's not about a secret. I'm very much a co-creator. So like, this is both of our agendas, right? So whatever we're trying, I just hung up before I got on here. I was just on with somebody who reports to me, who I do a ton of coaching with. And that's my primary role as his boss, is really all I do is help him navigate the coaching so that he can deliver on what he's passionate about, and he can deliver on behalf of the organization, right? And so, you know, but it's routine. So I meet every week. We have different, different pieces. We navigate our dialogue together. We set up certain meetings. We co-create different decks, right? So from a very corporate speak, but our routines and our clarity on our goals together, like we're in it together. We're a divide and conquer team, and that's usually what I do with the folks that I'm working with. It's kind of a divide and conquer, and let's work both ways, and we're together.
Julie?
Yeah, it's funny because when you're dealing with a corporate scenario, there are deliverables. There's bottom lines. They're sometimes they're arbitrary, but a lot of times, people that have achieved that level of success, that they're a conglomerate. Okay, I'm a small business. It's my way or the highway. I mean, I've had people come in to, run HR or and one of them had run 800 nurses for Kaiser for years. And she came in with no experience in the entertainment business, but I liked that because she gave me this fresh perspective of my business, and she changed protocols and everything. And so we were, like Judy said, very co-creative in that spot. But when she got to the talent side, she didn't understand the talent mentality. She wanted to treat them like they were a nurse who had a job to do. And I was like, that doesn't work with them. If they had wanted to be a nurse, they'd have gone to school and gone in the medical field. They're an actor. And so you have to really, as a manager, you have to know, who are you managing? Because if you haven't really availed yourself of personal growth, and clearly, Judy, you have, I can hear it in everything you're saying. It's lovely. But when you've taken that time to work on yourself and really be observant, you can really connect and find the jewels in those people that they themselves can't even see. They can't see it. And so then when you help them to establish, like what I do with a lot of my talent, we talk about the next inspired step. So when they're stuck, I'll say, write down take a piece of paper, put a line down the middle of it, put I want at the top. And then you write down every single thing on this side of that want that freaks you out. What is your fear? What are your obstacles? What comes up? What keeps you up at night? Write it all down. And then you read that and you go, okay, this is my problem. Okay? And then you go away and do something that lifts you up and gets your energy up high, fast, moving fast. Come back and read it. Now on the opposite side of that page, write down what you think the solution might be. You might not be right. You might have to come to me and ask me, but write down on the right side of the page what you think that solution might be. And then you cut that paper in half and you take it and you burn the left side. And you say, thank you, God, for showing me what my challenges are and what I do not want. I'm done. And now I'm going to take this right side and I'm going to put it by my bed and I'm going to read it at night and in the morning. And I'm going to let that soak into me, that this is where I'm moving towards. In 30 days, if you have that kind of time, you can do it in a week if you're focused. You come back and say, what are the steps I need to take to achieve these changes in my life? And as you write them, those are inspired steps from the problem to the solution. And the act of writing is very therapeutic, not on the computer, with a pencil and paper. And now you create an action plan. And you say, these are the people I need to call. These are the people I need to avail myself and get information. Boom, 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 boom. And as you do that, you start honing your focus into that solution, and it's achievable one step at a time. And that's how I help people get to success. I do that with actors with their acting. I said, no, if you do this, keep showing up, you're going to get a lead in a series. I've never been wrong. Every one of my kids that I've said, no, they have a lead in a series, because I know what the studio's looking for. They just had to get the hell out of their own way.
Yeah.
Don't you find people stumble over themselves, Judy?
Right, because I mean, we all, like, that's the beauty. I think what I love about this conversation is, and for what I do is to be able to find a different way. So, I love what you just described, but it's to become the ability to open up that possibility, right? And to help people see the possibility when they're stuck. And we all get stuck. People have done that for me. I get to do that for other people. But even today, and then, you know, what I do too, just for myself is like, I have my people that unstick me. What,
Exactly.
you know, it depends in different parts of my life, right? Because as a human being, it's just part of where you are. And then go get fresh air, get the brain going, come get perspective,
Yes.
and reproach the problem,
Mhm.
right?
That's
So
probably the biggest thing people don't do. They bang their head against the problem and they bang their head against the problem. And it's like, just go outside for a hot second. The sun is in the sky, the planets aren't bumping into each other. That's an enormous amount of well-being that you didn't.
yeah, time is a beautiful thing.
That's a lot easier to say in California than it is for Judy and I here in Minnesota.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
It's a little below 20 below degrees.
What's that? Yes.
I want to thank you both for your time and your expertise. It was such a great conversation. I was talking yesterday with a pair, and one of the other things that's beautiful is to bring people from different industries and different walks of life together. And great to hear both of your voices, and I appreciate your time. Thank you both so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for including us. Very fun.
Very nice to meet you, Judy and Jeremy. Thank you for creating this space for a lot of people to learn what they need to hear.
Yep.